Okay, so like everyone's always talking about investing, right? And how do you actually like do it? We're diving into this guide from Simply Walsing called 6 Steps to Invest with Confidence. It's like having a roadmap, you know?
And the best part is you don't have to be some kind of financial genius to get it. It's more about like common sense, which honestly, even Warren Buffett would tell you.
Speaking of Warren Buffett, I have to admit, when I first started reading this, it felt kind of like deciphering some ancient language or something, not gonna lie. But then I got to this part about narrative-based investing, and I was like, okay, now we're talking. What is that all
It's
about?
like a breath of fresh air, right? Instead of getting lost in all those numbers and spreadsheets, it's like you're thinking about the story of the company.
So instead of just chasing the latest hot stock tip, it's more about like really understanding a company, like you're writing their biography or something. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. And like any good biography, you need to start with chapter one, which in this case is figuring out your, what do they call it? Circle of competence.
Hmm.
And this is where it gets really interesting because it's all about you.
Oh, yeah, I remember this part. It's like invest in what you know, right? But this is like next level.
Totally. I mean, think about it. You're already an expert in something, probably without even realizing it. Like maybe you can't function without your morning coffee from that one place.
That local coffee shop with the crazy good lattes. Guilty as charged.
There you go. See, you're practically an investor already.
Wait, so you're telling me my caffeine addiction is actually an asset? I am totally using that line.
You should. Because think about it. You know that company, right? You
Mm.
get their product, their customers, maybe even who their competition is. That's valuable.
I've never thought about it like that before. So how does that actually work in the real world of investing?
Well, you know how everyone gets caught up in the hype, like with that new tech gadget a while back? Remember that?
Oh, yeah, and I totally fell for it. Worst purchase I ever made.
Exactly. And that's what can happen when you're outside your circle
Yeah.
uh, of competence, right? You get
Yeah.
swept up in the excitement without really understanding the thing you're putting your money into.
Yeah, especially with social media and everything. It's like everyone's an expert these days. Okay, so we've got our investing story. We figured out what we're good at. What's next? What's step 2?
So now we really need to dig into the companies themselves, the businesses behind the stocks. And I don't just mean recognizing their logo. Okay, this is like next level stuff.
So you're saying it's not enough to just like love their coffee or think their sneakers are cool? There's more to it. Tell me more.
It's like, what are they actually doing? How do they make money? Who are they competing with? Like, what are their struggles? That's the stuff you need to know.
So it's more like I'm becoming a part owner in this whole thing, not just buying a share or whatever. Okay, so where do I even start? This feels kind of overwhelming.
Okay, imagine you're not just buying a cup of coffee. You know,
Yeah.
you're thinking about buying the whole coffee shop,
Oh,
right?
yeah, okay, I see where you're going with this.
You'd want to know, like, where do they get those beans from?
Mm-hmm.
What's their secret recipe for those lattes? What makes them special?
Yeah. And like what happens when that new coffee shop opens up across the street, right? Can they handle the competition?
Exactly. It's like you're really getting under the hood, you know. The article mentions looking at company reports, the official ones, but also like the analysis you find on sites like Simply Wall Street, for example.
So it's about like understanding the whole story behind the numbers.
Yeah. You want to know, like, how do they actually make money? Do they have a good plan? Are they growing? Are they attracting customers? Like, are they keeping up with the times?
Okay, so I'm like a detective now, but instead of solving crimes, I'm trying to like solve this investing puzzle, right?
Exactly. And that's what the article talks about next. It's not enough to just, like, be a fan of the company, you know.
Mm.
You also need to look at their strengths and weaknesses as an investment. So in part three, we're going to look at the stock itself.
This is where it gets real, right? Like, it's one thing to love a company's story, but what am I actually buying into here?
Yeah. You might love that brand of clothes, but what if their finances are a mess? Or the people running the show have a bad track record? Like, those are red flags you can't ignore.
And this is where I think a lot of people, myself included, might need some help, you know? Because it's easy to get caught up in the excitement and not really understand the numbers part of it.
Oh, totally. It's not personal, it's business.
Mm.
But, like, how do you actually analyze a company's finances? That can feel kind of scary, you know?
Yeah. So what are the main things someone should look for if they're trying to figure out if a stock is good or not?
Good question. Like, where do you even begin to figure all that out?
Okay, give it to me straight. What am I looking for here? Like, what are the warning signs?
So part four of this guide dives into something super important, the whole idea of price versus value. Because, get this, a higher price doesn't always mean it's a better investment.
Wait, really? I thought expensive meant good. My mind is blown. But honestly, I think we all do that sometimes, right? Not just with investing, but like with everything. We see a big price tag and we think, oh, that must be fancy.
It's true. Our brains like to take shortcuts, but the market doesn't really work like that. To make good decisions, we have to look past the price. And this is where things like what is it, the PE ratio comes in.
Okay, the PE ratio, I'll be honest, that one always sounds a little scary. Can you explain it like I'm like 5 years old?
Of course. Let's go back to that coffee shop, right? You got that one that's been around forever. Everyone knows their name. They're solid. Then you've got that new place, the one with the fancy drinks and the even fancier prices.
Oh, yeah, you mean the one that charges like $8 for iced coffee? $8.
That's the one. So the thing is, that older place, they might have a lower PE ratio. Basically, investors are paying a little less for each dollar they're earning because they see it as like a safe bet. But that trendy new place, their PE ratio might be through the roof.
Because everyone's betting on them to be the next big thing, right? Even if their coffee is overpriced.
Exactly. So it's not just about finding the cheapest stock. It's more about understanding how much you're willing to bet on a company's potential.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it. It's like, how much am I willing to gamble that this company is going to be around in 5 years, 10 years, right?
And that's where your investment story comes back in. You have to ask yourself, does this all make sense with what I think this company's future looks like?
This is starting to feel less like a puzzle and more like, I don't know, building something. We've got our foundation, which is our story, right? And we're building the walls with all the stuff about the business, the stock. Now we have to decide, is the price right to put the roof on this thing?
I love that analogy. And speaking of putting it all together, that's what part 5 of this guide is all about. It's time to finalize that investment story. Make it real.
This is the big finale, huh? No pressure or anything.
Right. You've done all your homework, you've crunched the numbers, now it's like, zoom out, look at the big picture. Does it all make sense? Does it still match what you thought at the beginning? And most importantly, do you think the price is right?
Because this is where I think it's easy to get caught up, right? Like, you're so excited about this company, everything looks good, you just want to hit that buy button.
It's true. And this article, it actually warns about that. It's easy to overpay for something, even if it's a good company. They gave this example of this product. Everyone was so excited about it, but then it totally flopped.
Ouch, that's gotta hurt. So even if a company seems perfect, you gotta make sure the price makes sense too.
Exactly. Patience is key here. And that's something part 6 talks about a lot. Buying a stock, that's not the finish line. It's like the starting line.
Because even if you make a smart decision, right, things change. A competitor pops up, like, who knows? A pandemic hits, you just never know.
You got it. And that's why it's so important to, keep an eye on your investments. Don't be afraid to change your mind if you need to.
So how do you know? Like, what are the signs that maybe it's time to cut your losses? When do you jump ship?
Well, this article, it actually gives 3 big reasons you might think about selling. First, what if your whole investment story, it just doesn't make sense anymore? Like maybe the company isn't doing as well as you thought, or something happened in the world to change things up.
Oh, like a pandemic?
Exactly. Or maybe, and this is the second reason, you realize you were wrong. Your analysis wasn't quite right. Maybe you got some new information and now you see things differently.
It's like you're always learning, right? The market never sits still.
Right. And the third reason, this is a big one, what if the stock price gets too high? Remember that PE ratio?
Oh, yeah, that's back. So even if a company's doing great, their stock price can still get out of control.
You got it. And if that happens, maybe it's time to cash out, take your profits, or maybe find a new investment opportunity.
So basically, it's all about staying informed, staying flexible, remembering that this is a marathon, not a sprint, right?
Couldn't have said it better myself. And you know what? Instead of being afraid of those market ups and downs, think of them as opportunities. Like when prices drop, it might be your chance to get in on a company you really believe in at a great price. You're playing the long game here, remember.
This has been amazing. We went from feeling totally lost about investing to having an actual plan. I feel so much more confident now.
That's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
Having the knowledge to take control of your own financial future.
Seriously. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of investing. And hey, before you make any decisions, you know the drill. Do your own research, think about your situation, and maybe have a chat with that financial advisor of yours. Until next time.